On today's episode of PDubs Arcade Loft, we're going to take a look at the My Arcade Atari Gamestation Go handheld. That's right, this Atari themed handheld system has over 200 preloaded retro video games, including Pac-Man, a whole bunch of Atari console games, as well as arcade games, as well as some interesting stuff like Atari Recharged Games, a 7-inch display, but is it worth the money? And what have been my first impressions of it? Let's find out. Okay guys, we are back. It's important to note that the folks over at My Arcade did send me this unit for review, and I do have at least 2 videos planned for this particular product. This is the first video. This is my first impressions, just messing around with the device and telling you what I think about how this device comes as is out of the box. There have been a lot of conversations and there have been a lot of YouTube videos about this product. I'm pretty late to the game myself, and a lot of people seem focused on what it can't do. I'm more concerned about what can it do out of the box for the general customer. Now, in the second video I'm hoping to do, we'll dive into some additional games that we could add on and play and see what my thoughts are on that. Make sure you do the firmware updates, connect to the Wi-Fi, and download the updates. In fact, that is actually one of the reasons I said on my review is My Arcade, after they sent this to me, said, hey, we got a new firmware update coming out. Came out a couple weeks ago. They're going to continue to support this. And I'm on the latest firmware, so my review shouldn't be out of date. So diving into some of the features on this handheld, we have L1, L2, R1, R2 shoulder buttons, which is nice. We have our orange on-off toggle switch, a home button, which will take you to the main menu no matter what game you're in, micro SD port, which is huge. That's right, the fact that they gave us the ability to add and play more games and emulators built in, all that kinds of stuff. Got your volume up-down on the right-hand side, as well as you have an HDMI port, USB-C charging port, charging indicator light, and then, of course, even a headphone jack, 3.5mm headphone jack for wearing wired headphones and checking this thing out. Also, sometimes it's the little things that really stand out, and in this case, stand up. That's right, the fact that this includes its own little kickstand to prop the unit up, especially when playing it as a console on your TV with additional controllers plugged into the back, is pretty awesome in my opinion. My Arcade is going to be selling various controllers that you could plug into this thing, but if you want to play it in handheld mode, you're going to be fine. You have some pretty good quality A, B, X, Y buttons, as well as that numerical pad is huge for playing some of the retro games that require it. And for me personally, on the left-hand side where you have your spinner, your D-pad, and your trackball, I like the feel of the trackball. It's nice and loose in my opinion, rolls really good. The D-pad works really good. The spinner feels very, very tight. You also have your settings button. Pretty much in every game, when you hit your settings button, you could adjust various settings for each game. You have your credit button and your start button, especially when you're playing your arcade games and console games. And of course, the select button. But I'm glad that My Arcade put in a 7-inch high-resolution screen here, and the display looks fantastic, whether you're playing in the daytime or if you're playing in a darkly lit room. No problems viewing this screen at all. Having a large 7-inch display helps you, rival some of the competition out there on the market, including your Nintendo Switches and your Steam Decks, things like that. Plenty of options, built-in save game states, and I love the real glow technology where no matter what menu you're in or what game you're in, well, you are able to see the buttons and controls that you need to use lit up, programmed to light up for that particular game. So if the game requires the trackball will be lit up. The shoulder buttons will be lit up. The keypad will be lit up. It's awesome. There's various game categories. We're going to talk about several of them here in the next portions of the video. The first one is the Pac-Man category, where you get Pac-Man the arcade game, Pac-Man the arcade game, Super Fast Edition, which I'm demoing right here, right now, as well as Pac-Man, one of the old Atari console versions. It's in its proper aspect ratio. You can go into the settings and stretch it to fill the screen if you want to, but just the fact that, the blacks look black and the blue bars look nice and sharp, all the ghosts and Pac-Man look really, really nice. Sound is great. I think they did a really good job here, at least porting over the Pac-Man games. They have several pinball games included from the Balls of Steel pinball platform, which it sounds like they've partnered up with to release with My Arcade. Probably because, you know, Zen Studios and Gottlieb and Pinball Arcade stuff either A, wouldn't work on here, or B, probably too costly of licenses. I've actually covered the Balls of Steel pinball games previously on the channel. I have a link for those old reviews in the video description below. In my opinion, they're just not that great. They're very, very basic pinball games and not that fancy, low-powered, very cheesy. The fact that you can play pinball on this handheld with the bumper buttons and all that stuff is cool. But these are games that I'll probably just never play on this particular handheld because I'm not a fan of the Balls of Steel pinball platform, although some of you might be out there. As we kind of dive into some of the other gaming categories on here, I love the way they organize this. So for instance, under the JALECO category, you have all the 8-bit games. I was thrilled to see the Bases Loaded series on here. I used to play Bases Loaded on my Nintendo all the time growing up, but you got 8-bit games, 16-bit games. There's some good ones on here like Brawl Brothers, Rival Turf, games like that. Also, they have arcade games on here, some of those JALECO arcade games. A lot of them are considered shovelware on various, multicades and stuff like that. But there's a few good games on there like Psy Battler and Saint Dragon and, you know, stuff that some people do enjoy playing and tug on the heartstrings from their youth. But I love the fact that you could set up favorites under each category, etc. Under the PIKO category, you'll see less games than under the JALECO category, but you do, again, have your 8-bit games. You also have your 16-bit games and some arcade games. What's interesting, too, on the 16-bit games is, you know, you got Top Racer games, which I really like seeing on here. So it's nice to see that. Plus, Thunderbolt 2 is a fun play. Arcade games, you just have 4. Fancy World, Lucky Boom, Maniac Square, which are pretty much shovelware games. But, of course, they have World Rally, which, you know, that's a personal favorite cheesy racing arcade game of mine. Okay, we're going to go ahead and kill two birds with one stone here. For starters, the fact that this thing has HDMI out, you could use the handheld as a controller, or again, they have separate first-party controllers, all different kinds coming out, starting in December, I believe, to plug in and put this thing up on its kickstand and play those games as a console is really cool in my opinion. They did include 5 Atari Recharged Games, which typically these games are anywhere from $5 to $10 on Steam usually. So you get 5 of them included. And I did have a hit or miss experience playing with these things. Number one, again, love the fact that we have the glow telling us, hey, we're going to go ahead and play some Missile Command. We're going to use the trackball down here, and then of course the A button to fire our missiles. What's interesting is the 5 Atari Recharged Games here, I had kind of a mixed experience with. So for starters, as you can see here, I tried using the trackball, and holy crap is the trackball sensitive. And I couldn't find personally a way to adjust the sensitivity of the trackball. The trackball's just all over the place. However, you can use the D-pad, and you'll notice here that when I use the D-pad, I'm able to actually move the targeting cursor a lot easier. It's a lot smoother, and less issues finding where you need to go, and it moves at the right speed. But man, I think in the next firmware update, hopefully they'll address just the sheer sensitivity of the trackball with this particular game, because in my opinion, it's just way too sensitive and it makes it impossible to play. Now, when it came to playing the Atari Breakout Recharged, you use just your the paddle or the spinner, if you will, in order to slide back and forth, just like classic Breakout. And unfortunately, the spinner, in my opinion, worked fine. Even though it's really, really tight, it's not like a loose spinner. It's a really tight, so it doesn't like do like a full turn if you twist it, that kind of thing. But it's pretty dialed in for the games. Like, I'm not having any issues with it. The problem, though, is when playing this particular game, I notice a lot of frame issues. You'll notice right there, if you were watching the ball, watch the ball, you'll see it kind of jump a bit. My camera even can pick it up here when we're playing it this way, where we're getting some frame drops. There it goes. It dropped again as we were going up. So there's some frame rate issues running this Recharge game on this hardware. There it is again. You'll notice we got some frame droppage. So this game needs some better emulation tweaks, hopefully, to get it running on this hardware much better. When it came to Berserk Recharged, I didn't find any issues with this game. This game seems to be running great, and also the controls work really well. No issues playing Berserk Recharged on this handheld. Now, playing Asteroids Recharged worked really well in my opinion here. Now, in this case, you only use the D-pad, and then, of course, your A, B, X, Y buttons for firing and stuff. But, yeah, just using the D-pad on here. So, little interesting controls, but it works great, sounds great, plays great. Really no issues playing Asteroids Recharged on this particular handheld. And of course, last but not least, we got Centipede Recharged here. And Centipede Recharged, in my opinion, the trackball is way more dialed in than the trackball is on the Super Breakout game. I'm sorry, not the Super Breakout game, on the Missile Command game. So the trackball, in my opinion, if they could dial it in for this game, they should be able to fix it for Missile Command, because in my opinion, it's just way too loose, way too fast to play Missile Command and be successful at it. And as you would expect on an Atari-themed handheld, with 200 plus games built in, under the Atari category is where you're going to find the bulk of the games. You're going to find all your Atari 2600 games, all your Atari 5200, Atari 7800 games, and let's be honest, the 5200, the 2600, the 7800, all games that I never played growing up, never wanted to play. Anytime I went to a friend's house who had an Atari, you guys know me, my first console was the NES, so to me the Atari was a dinosaur, never wanted to touch it. But we did give a couple of games a shot while testing this, and the games seemed to run and play as they should on this particular handheld. And I actually found a game that I really liked that I never played before, and that was the Fatal Run game here on the Atari 7800. Let's check it out. Yes, first time I played it, and on this particular system, and was wasting all my all my gun ammo. Oh well, it is what it is. But learned how to drive, learned that you have various weapons and shields and things you could use while playing this game, and it was really fun. Now, a huge selling point to me, of course, is all the arcade games built into this thing, and there are a ton of Atari arcade games. Some of the ones that are pretty basic, Atari baseball, football, soccer, and all that, but you do get in there. You got Berserk, you got Black Widow, you got Centipede, you got Crystal Castles, you got Food Fight, you got Frenzy, you got iRobot, Lunar Lander, Major Havoc, Millipede, Missile Commando, Space Duel, Super Breakout. Oh man, Superbug, Tempest, and Warlords. So many arcade games makes it worth it. Now, I think in this latest firmware update, they fixed some of the vector graphics. I know a lot of reviewers had issues with the way the vector graphic games look, such as, Atari Tempest right here, because, everything looked very jagged. Wasn't like nice glowing lines and performance issues and all that kinds of stuff. At least when I'm doing the HDMI out here, it looks pretty nice. Also looks okay on the handheld. So I think that firmware update fixed some of those issues, but I'm not seeing anything that would prevent me from enjoying these vector graphic games on this particular handheld so far. However, again, even on classic Atari Crystal Castles, in my opinion, the trackball, which I'm used to just zooming up and down these ramps, the trackball is barely moving the character when you play, and I think, again, this is something that probably needs to be fixed as part of the next firmware update. The more games you play, you do find various bugs with some of the games, and taking Atari arcade games on the go is a lot of fun. So for my first impression thoughts on this very first video covering this product on my channel is $180 price tag on Amazon. I will have an affiliate link below if that's the only way you're able to access to purchase this. And if you're interested in it, is a little bit high in my opinion for this particular unit. I do like that if you have access to a BJ's wholesaler, I believe they're selling them there for 140 bucks. I'll have that link below, but I don't have access to a BJ's here on my end, unfortunately. They don't ship to Arizona and they're not in Arizona. But overall, I did test a lot of the games, not all 200, but out of what I tested, I did find a few games with bugs or performance issues, and I found a lot of games that run really, really well. I do know My Arcade is supporting this product, and whenever they get feedback, hopefully they're going to keep pushing out firmware updates to dial things in a little bit, and also the ability to add and play more games on this system via micro SD card, which I'll be covering some of that in the next video, is a huge selling feature as well. In my opinion, this thing is still very, very cool. When they announced this at CES 2025, it was one of the few products from My Arcade that I was actually interested in, so I was very happy when they reached out to me and offered me a review unit. But I gotta know what you guys think about this thing, and I know you've seen a lot of coverage on it before. What are your thoughts, feedback, reactions below? If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up on the way out. Scroll to the right if you're watching mobile, add some hype points. And as always, my dudes, thank you for subscribing.